Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Stansfield's education videos for part 2 of the face blend. So here we have our first blend. We've got the background merged with the eyes and nose. So the next step is we're going to add another mouth to this picture, and I'll show you how to do that. First thing we want to do is copy this eyes and nose layer. You can do that by clicking and dragging down here. And then I'm just going to call it new base layer. Or maybe second base layer would be better. So second base layer. And this is the new base layer that we're going to base the next merge onto. And basically we're doing the same thing as copying the background copy. So we have the eyes and nose merged, and then we want to have this other layer. So if something happens, we can just delete it and start over. In fact, I just made another video that I will link to that you can look at basically how things could go wrong. So if you're having some trouble getting this to look right, you can watch that video and hopefully that'll answer some questions. I'll also try to address them here. So we have the second base layer. I'm going to hit Command tilde to cycle through my open files, and this is the picture that I'm going to use the mouth from. I'm going to hit the F key a couple of times. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. I don't need that picture right now. And then I'm going to get the lasso tool. And I already have a selection loaded here, but I'm just going to hit Command D to deselect. And then I just want to make sure that I have this right here. One of the things I didn't mention in the first video is that when you're making a selection with the lasso tool, you want to make sure that this says feather 0 pixels, and you do not want anti-alias checked. So this is something we didn't mention before, but you want to check it out. So you want to have this first box checked right here, feather 0 pixels, and anti-alias unchecked. I'm going to go ahead and make a big selection here, in this case more than I really want. So I'm going to go all the way up to the nose. I'm also going to bring this over so I can actually make the selection. Command D to unselect. I can just get more than I want, and I'll show you. We're going to just erase later what we don't need. I'm going to get the move tool. That accidentally just snapped into that tab layer right there. Tabbed file open rather. I'm going to grab the move tool and I'm going to click and drag over to the new spot. And I'm going to hit the F key, and then I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Command plus, to make sure I can sort of see what I'm working with here. With the move tool selected, I can start to kind of line it up, and then maybe here change the opacity of layer 1. Maybe rename layer 1. So we're going to call this now mouth, and then click and drag that around, transform it as needed. You can see here that the outside of the face actually isn't quite lining up. So when we line up the outside of the face and the chin, that mouth is kind of off. So really, all we really care about is the mouth. I can sort of free transform, Command T, select the mouth layer. So I just hit Command T, accidentally hit the second base layer selected. Rotate that a little bit, line it up, transform it if necessary. In this case, I think we want to make it a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. If it's not perfect, that's okay. We're not too worried about that. Bring the opacity back up, and then what I'm going to do here is erase the edges. So get the eraser tool, E on the keyboard. And here, this is going to be a really critical part. If you watch the other video on how to make mistakes, or what kind of mistakes you can make while you're doing this, you want to make sure that your hardness is set to 100%. Previously, in the last video, I may have mentioned that you would want to use a soft brush, but what we discovered was that actually that's not going to work well. So here I'm going to paint with the eraser tool. I'm just going to start erasing basically anything that I don't want to be potentially blended. So basically anything outside of the original jawline of our original person, our original subject. I'm going to leave that jawline intact, and then anything else can pretty much be used. Now you can see when we're using a hard-edged brush, it doesn't actually blend well. And that's okay. I want to keep that dimple in there, by the way. So I'm going to go around like that. We want to leave those dimples in there, so maybe we'll try to get this nose to blend in a little bit. We'll see how it goes. There we go. That's looking pretty good. These sharp edges, these little like pointy edges here, we're not too worried about those. Okay, we're not too worried about those right now. So you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, we've made our selection by, I'm sorry, we haven't made a selection yet. We've erased the areas that we don't want to be blended. Now it's time to make the selection. So we're going to select pixels. Remember, command click on the mouth to select the pixels. We're going to go up here to select and inverse, shift command I is the shortcut key. Select modify expand. We're going to expand by 15 pixels. Select inverse again, shift command I. Go to the second base layer, and we're going to get the eraser tool. Uncheck all the eyeballs except for the second base layer, and we're going to erase. Now, if you watch the mistake video, what you'll see is that actually it doesn't give you a perfect erased line on the selection. It actually blends it much softer, which causes issues when we auto blend. All right, so the next step is, actually we can leave all of that off. We don't really care about that. We can turn the mouth layer back on. We can hit Command D to deselect, or go up here to select, deselect. That's the option right there. Command click the mouth layer and the second base layer, and then we go File, Edit and Auto Blend Layers. Click OK. Hopefully this is going to work. There it is. So you've got a little bit of that nose kind of wonkiness happening up there, but otherwise looking pretty good. Here's before, let's do it like so, and after. Before and after. A little bit crooked, that mouth is a little bit off. I would probably do this over and center the mouth a little bit more. I can see now that actually the original picture was taken at an angle instead of kind of a straight on mugshot. So when I lined up the mouth and nose, it wasn't quite working the way that we wanted to. No, that's okay. It looks kind of goofy. The nose is really off here, so I would probably not, again, use this. I'd probably undo it. And here is how I would do that. Okay, it's good to note how to do that. So you've got mouth merged, mouth second base layer. If you command click all three layers, you can throw those away and you have that eyes and nose merged layer. Copy that layer and start over. So if it's not looking quite right, you can do that. Back to the mistakes issue, if you watch that other video, you'll notice the way that the edges are softer actually makes things a lot more difficult. It looks better before you merge, but then when it goes to do the merge, it really doesn't work out very well. So that is that. I would simply just realign the mouth, but again, back to our original statement about how you would want to photograph. If you make the images the same distance from the camera, and don't use a wide angle lens, and have your subject looking at the camera in the same way, all of that's going to make your job a lot easier. So there's the face blend. One of the key things to do each time you make a new layer is to recopy it. So you've got the eyes and nose merged copy, rename it new base layer or second base layer, I think is what we decided was probably a good second base layer. And then keep working off of that. And so if you need to, you can always delete and restart. There you go.